Tonight's opening prayer is offered up for all the lost souls at Binion's and the Apache Hotel. Lord Jesus Christ, we pray that thou wouldst cover us, our families, and all our possessions with thy love and the most precious blood, and surround all of us with thy heavenly angels, saints, and the mantle of our Blessed Mother. Thank you, Lord Jesus Christ. We ask this in thy most holy name. Jesus, I ask thee to bind and seal all power sources attached to any of us in the most precious blood of Jesus, and I ask thee to render them all completely helpless, impotent, neutralized, paralyzed, and ineffective. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Welcome, brothers and sisters. This is Reverend Shawn Whittington's Paranormal Ministry. I'm your host, Reverend Shawn, the Rev, and welcome to my haunted home, my very haunted home. Please keep these other teams in your prayers tonight. GhostBeGone.biz, the ministry, right here in Las Vegas, Nevada. The Worldwide Society of Exorcists. And if you're interested in taking my course, my online course, Introduction to Spiritual Warfare through the WSE, you can enroll and register for the course at the GhostBeGone.biz website. If you haven't done your good deed for the day yet, pick up a copy of my book, my new haunted autobiography, God, Ghosts, and the Paranormal Ministry. Part of the proceeds goes to St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, Nevada, and that is a very good thing. I hope everybody had a happy Halloween, a safe Halloween, and a spiritual attack-free Halloween. I know some that didn't, and maybe we'll get to that a little bit later. I have a very quick Halloween story of my own that I'd like to share real quick. It started on the morning of Devil's Night, which was last Wednesday. Did an interview at a local radio station here with Brian Purdy of EVPS. And the host of the show wanted him to bring a lot of his equipment in. So he set all his equipment up in the studio. Right before the show started, the host asked me exactly what it was that I do in the paranormal field. So I start telling him, and Brian quickly points out that his EMF detector spiked to 666. So, of course, I immediately blast him, the host, and the studio with holy water. And I hand the host a St. Michael prayer card and told him, keep this close. Well, I could tell at that moment I had the complete attention of the host. And the interview was scheduled for an hour and 10 minutes. About 50 minutes in, he became so ill and so freaked out that he actually cut the interview short. We walked him outside, and he started to feel better. So, Devil's Night. Halloween night, I attended, in my humble opinion, the event that I am going to call the new must-attend paranormal event here in Vegas, Talking Paranormal and Ghost Hunt. It takes place at Binion's and the Apache Hotel, which is adjacent to Binion's there. And, the Vegas Haunted Ghost Tour here is getting a little long in the tooth, and if you've been in one haunted museum, you've been in them all. So if you're passionate about the paranormal and you live here, or you plan a visit to Vegas, you must attend Talking Paranormal and Ghost Hunt, hosted by EVPS at Binion's and the Apache Hotel. On one of the haunted floors, I broke away from the group. I tend to do that. The spirit of a man cleared his throat and got my attention in one of the rooms. So I entered, and I was quickly confronted by this spirit at the door. Not confronted like you can't come in here, but true excitement to meet me, to have me come and enter his room. And he led me over to two double beds separated by a nightstand. And I could hear him sit on one of the beds, so I sat down directly across from him. I noticed there was a very dusty old Gideon's Bible on the nightstand on his side of the bed. The door, the handle on the drawer of the nightstand rattled, so I opened it up, and lo and behold, inside was another old copy of a Gideon's Bible that I found in the drawer. I quickly opened the Bible up, put my finger down on the page, turned my little pen light on, and I opened the Bible right to a page that held great significance for me, and my finger exactly on a passage of equal significance. And I knew that that was meant as a gift to me. So I asked for his permission to take the Bible, which I did. And I thanked him, and I told him he didn't have to remain there, that he could call his angels to come and take him to heaven anytime he was ready. I also got permission from Brian to take the Bible. But I thought that you would find that story interesting. And so I hope everybody else had a very interesting Halloween. I'm going to bring on my first guest tonight. You're going to love her. You know the rules because I love her. And that's how we roll here. She's a good friend of Sharon and mine. We've known her a long time. She's one of the most gifted psychic mediums that I know. At one time, she was the only psychic medium radio personality in all of Cape Cod. And she's known as the Happy Medium. She's also an investigator and psychic for T&K Paranormal, and I'm honored to have her with us tonight. Brothers and sisters, welcome to the show, the one and only Susan Ahearn. Susan, how are you?
Oh, thank you so much. That was so sweet.
You know it's meant. It's from the heart. I want to tell you how disappointed I am that you're out in the field and we couldn't get you on camera. You are robbing my viewers of your beauty, and so that's a shame. Maybe next time we'll get you on camera, okay?
That would be wonderful. That would be great. Thank you so much. You're just so kind. I love when we get to spend some time together.
Absolutely. Tonight's only an hour long. Maybe if we have some time for people to call in for quickie readings, we might be able to do that. But I know there's some other important stuff I want to cover with you before we run out of time. So I'll get right to it. As soon as I always announce that you and I are going to be getting together for a chat, all of your followers and fans start sending me questions. And of course, everybody, I never get tired of this story. I know you must have told it thousands and thousands of times, but humor me again tonight. You are at least, at last count of 5 times, I'm going to throw a little plus on there, near-death experience survivor, and I find that absolutely amazing. Sharon's only got 2 under her belt, and I found that amazing until I met you. So please share with my audience all of your near-death experiences.
Okay. Well, I like to call it only 4, but then you add on a few others, and then
we'll see. I got a little piece of paper.
And all that stuff. I know. So it starts with when I was very young, like 8 years old. I was strangled. I kind of accidental strangling. I was climbing over a fence with all the other kids in the neighborhood, and I was the smallest one. They called me Small Fry, and so everyone would climb up onto the fence, and I'd try and climb up, and they'd knock me down, and I'd get up again, and they'd knock me down. And so when it was my turn, I was the last one over the fence, and I lost my footing, and I kind of twisted and slipped backwards, and my hood that I was wearing got caught on the stockade fence, and it strangled me. And I couldn't unzip the zipper because, the weight of my body and against the zipper wouldn't go down. It was locked in place, and my little feet were kicking, and my arms were trying to lift myself off of the fence, which was impossible. And this was it was an interesting story because it was the first time that I realized that I had the ability to, ESP was the first time that I ever used it, and it kind of worked. It was kind of amazing. And so all I kept thinking was that if I could just call my mom that was in the kitchen doing the dishes, that she would come out behind the garage and see me dangling there and help me and rescue me. And because I couldn't speak, I couldn't yell, I made I'm sure muffled something, but it had you by the windpipe, so you couldn't really make any noise either. And so my mom's doing the dishes, and she said she had the oddest feeling to just stop doing the dishes. She still had to soap on her hands, and to come around the garage and check for whatever odd reason. There was no reason for it. She just had this sixth sense, and she kind of followed it. But what I was doing as I was sitting there dangling, I just kept calling out to my mom to come behind the garage, come behind the garage. And by the time she did, I just remember the feeling of energy leaving your body. As we try and we struggle to stay on Earth and to stay alive, we go through this panic. And then when you get to a point where you just realize the struggle is over and you just kind of surrender to it, it becomes very beautiful. And that's what I remember happening, this beautiful sensation of it's okay, Susan, no more struggle. And then a darkness, I just remember losing consciousness clearly, and everything just went dark, and it was effortless. And then I just remember letting go. And then I don't remember being removed from the fence. I just remember waking up on the ground, on the grass, on the floor, on the ground behind the garage, and my mother over me, just kind of shaking me. And that was my first time.
Incredible. Yeah. And you had no clue at that age, I would imagine, how your mother heard you when you didn't utter a word other than think that you needed her. Pretty incredible. Well, that's one. Give me number two now.
All right. Number two, I was giving birth to my third child. And I was had a C-section, was delivered the child, and then I started to bleed out, and I was hemorrhaging. And post-surgery, and the doctor went in to do another surgery, so he was tied up, and the nurses kept saying, "No, you're fine, you're fine." And I said, "Well, I've had 2 other C-sections. I know that something's wrong. I could feel it. I could sense that something was wrong." And they just kind of ignored me until it got to a critical point where, like 3 hours later, the doctor finally is out of surgery, comes to check on me, and they're like, "Yeah, this isn't good. We're going to lose her." And my blood pressure was 60/40. I kept saying, "Am I breathing?" I just didn't feel like I was breathing. I wasn't getting a good exchange, and I knew something was shifting, but what was shifting was that I was slowly leaving my body. And the pre-death experience happens when you're still alive, when you're still coherent enough that you can exchange and you're communicating, but that it's that realization of, once again, letting go. The pre-death is like that struggle to stay alive. And I wanted to see my baby. I didn't get to see my baby. I saw him very quickly, and then off he went. And ironically, in December, it'll be 30 years to the date of that experience. My son will be 30 years in December. So that was kind of interesting, December 6th. But so that moment of wanting to see my baby one last time was so huge. And they kept saying, "No, you're not going to see your baby." And I said, "Well, I'm dying." And they're, "No, you're not dying." And I said, "No, I really am. I'm dying." And they just wouldn't listen to me. It was just so frustrating. I just said, "Okay." This beautiful calm came over me, and I realized there was nothing I could do. I was doing everything I could to stay there, but then I just had let go, and this beautiful surrender, this tranquil feeling came over me. This time I did get to see the white tunnel, the white light. Mm-hmm. It was quick. It was a short tunnel. I just kind of zipped through the tunnel and made it to the other side, and feeling like I had made it home. There was that homecoming feeling, and I was all excited, and it was beautiful. I was in kind of a waiting area, kind of a feeling like it wasn't like the place, but it was that waiting area kind of. It was very foggy. non-dimensional room, and there were other people through the fog that I could see silhouettes, but that I couldn't actually see them, but I sensed that I knew them, and I was excited to be there, and I wanted them to be excited for me, and they weren't. And I was like, what's going on? Like, I made it. I'm home. Like, where's my party? I'm all excited, and nobody was that excited for me. And I was so bummed out. I was like, what is happening? I'm here. What's, like, I knew something was wrong with being to what I will call my, to heaven. And the only person that communicated with me was the Blessed Mother. And because I was trying to talk to these other kind of shadow people that were up there, but they weren't communicating back. They weren't talking to me. And I was the only one using my voice, but my understanding from them, our communication was telepathic. And I kind of was pouty, and I was really sad, and I was pouting and sitting on the Blessed Mother's lap whining. I was like so embarrassed when I think about it now, but it was my one big chance to be there, and here I am whining to the Blessed Mother about how no one's happy to see me, and I've made it all the way up here, and I didn't even get a party, and I'm like just going on about
get to see my son.
So she said, well, you're not supposed to be here, dear. And I said, well, what do you mean? And she said, well, something, went wrong. And I went, what? Heaven makes mistakes? And she said, well, yeah, sometimes we do. Like, sometimes stuff happens. She said, we can't ask you to leave because you've made it this far. So you get to stay if you want to. But if you go with these two other beings, of angelic form, you can get to decide for yourself if you want to stay. And I was like, well, of course I want to stay. And she said, well, don't make up your mind until you see what they have to show you. And I said, okay, I agreed to that. And then, so off I went to another non-dimensional room, and it was very dark, and it was very different from the other space. And it was almost like a movie theater, kind of a sense to it. It was like this big giant screen type of thing, and I was able to look at my life, past, present, future, and what it would all mean if I were to stay, and if I didn't stay, what would happen, and all of the ramifications of rewriting everything, because now I wasn't there, was huge. And I just remember going, oh, I've got to get back now. Like, the urgency was just like, I got to get back quick, because already the second that I've been up here, I've ruined things. Things had got messed up, so I have to get back there ASAP. And within that breath, I landed back into my body. It felt like I had fallen from the highest building onto shards of glass. It just, every cell came alive, and it hurt. Everything hurt. Just coming back. And the first thing I said was, and I had a swear word, I said, oh, F, I can't believe I chose this. Because it was just so painful to come back to this. And I went, okay. But I knew that my needing to be there was so important that it was worth that pain of being back in body, and, leaving that beautiful unconditionalness behind. Knowing I would see it again, it wasn't like that was it. One and done, I lost my turn. I knew I had the opportunity to tap into that energy. So that wasn't the fear. The fear was being in human form and going through that physical pain that we do in this lifetime.
Well, look how you turned out. You got to see your son, and you have lived a wonderful life, and you've got so much more life ahead of you. And I'm honored to call you a friend and know you. You're a special person, and that's incredible. I mean, and we could stop there, but it only gets better from here. Now let's go on to number 3. When do we get to the part where it happened twice, the same thing?
Well, I had I was a retired police officer, And when I was a police officer, I was directing traffic. I got hit by a car, and in one of the surgeries that I had, I ended up passing a clot, a blood clot, and I was in the bathroom, and I was feeling sick. I knew something was wrong, but I wasn't quite sure. And I was in the bathroom thinking, I don't know which end's going to go, but I feel like I'm going to throw up. And that's when my heart stopped. And I used to be on the fire department, and so I knew a lot of the firefighters. And that was always one of those spots that I never wanted to die, was on the toilet. It sounds, the story is so vain. I'm so sorry. It's just ridiculous. But I didn't want to die in the toilet with my pants down. So I decided, I really willed it. And I asked God, I said, do I have to die here? I don't want to die here. At least let me crawl back to bed. You can take me in the bed. But I didn't want to die in the bathroom and have my friends find me in the bathroom with my pants around my ankles. So that was one story. How
about was it twice with the lightning?
Well, twice with the lightning, but the lightning, I don't think that counts, because I don't. You love to count. I know you do love to count those.
I'm counting it.
Those ones. Okay.
I'm counting it as 2, which brings us to 5 right there. Yes, because people get hit by lightning and don't survive, and when they do survive, it's a big deal. So you got hit by lightning twice, and you survived. So I'm at 5 right now, and I know there's another one.
And then there's more, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I know there is.
Working one summer in the fish market when I was 16, and lightning hit the transformer across the street and came through the plate glass window, and I happened to be wet because I was working at the fish market, and I did have rubber boots on and a rubber apron, but my wet jeans were sitting on a folding metal chair, and my arm was resting on a metal table desk, and the lightning came through the room, and there were 2 other people in the room at the time, and they also got zapped by the lightning. And it came through, I don't really know where the entrance, but the exit was through my pointer finger in my left hand. So that always is kind of sensitive to the cold and to the snow in the wintertime. Mm-hmm. And then the other time was I was doing laundry, and I'd washed the same laundry like 3 times. I put it out to dry in the line, and I hung it out, and then the rainstorm would come, and then I'd have to rewash it and hang it out again. And it was like the 3rd time, and I'm like, oh, forget it. I was so mad. I stormed outside. I'm taking the laundry down, and at this point I was in bare feet, and I was in between the middle bulkhead and a tree, this big, huge tree, and the electricity came up from the ground, and it just surrounded me, like this beautiful blue colored light just kind of surrounded me. And I was hollering to my kids to come help me grab the laundry because I wasn't going to wash this again. And my son hadn't stepped off the wooden deck that we had, which thank the good Lord, because he would have been he would have been electrocuted too. But he just said that he could see the blue light around me. My hair stood up. I remember just telling him to kind of shout it out, stop, and that's about all I got out before it just kind of, I felt it coming and I was able to stop him. But I think after that, it was kind of like having a frontal lobotomy for like 3 days. I was kind of toast. I don't really remember much. I was like, no, it's fine. Everything was fine. The kids, if they wanted to take the keys to the car, I was like, sure, whatever. It didn't matter. That one was stronger than the first one. So.
Well, I remember since you and I first met, you, if I remember correctly, you either fell at a construction site or a roof caved in on your head or something, knocked you out. Am I thinking, are you that person, or am I thinking of somebody else?
No, that's me. Yeah, right.
Okay, so that's 6.
The luck of the Irish.
So, yeah, so I've got 6
was working in my own living room, and the ceiling came down and fell on my head. And that I was very, very, very fortunate I survived that one. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I, yeah,
Well,
I was very
there's some
fortunate with that one.
questions that I've asked you all the time when we have this discussion, and that I'm not going to ask you anymore, because if I ask you again, how's the book coming, and you tell me I haven't even started, and I decided not to write one, I'm going to get upset. So I'm not going to ask you that question. But I'm going to ask you this question, because for some reason lately I didn't even question my own mortality, and getting up there in age. I'm going to be 60 on the 18th of this month, and you
Oh,
start seeing other friends of yours that aren't around any longer, that you grew up with, and they've already gone on to heaven, and what have you, and people have died, in accidents and whatever. Do you ever think about why you have survived all of these? Now, we know you're gifted. Now, you had your gift when you were very young. That's why you were able to telepathically send that psychic message to your mother to come get me off the fence. And I know sometime between then and now, you had the light went on that you were gifted. So you already had the gift. You've done so many cool things. You've had that great show that ran forever every Friday morning, the Happy Medium show there live on one of the local Cape Cod radio stations. Everybody loved that show. I always tried to catch it if I was still up that early on a Friday morning. But have you ever questioned truly why? Do you think there's something else that you need to do that you haven't done yet, or you're doing what you're supposed to be doing? Do you question that? Does it bother you?
I always knew that I was different and that there was a special purpose, so to speak. Even when I was little, and I would tell my mother, I would tell my mom, I knew that there was something that was different or special about me, that was important, that I'd, be reaching people and touching souls. And I don't know if it was just her way, but she would always, kind of punish me, and because having the gift was not welcome in an Irish Catholic household. It was something that they feared, and so and I understand that now, and there's forgiveness to that now, but it was difficult. I mean, I knew that there was something, I didn't know what it was, and I was always really excited about it. And it was okay to be different. I was okay with that. And I know that there's still more to do. Like when the radio show ended, I was really sad, because it was, you're not taking me off the radio show. You're disconnecting spirit from the ability to reach people at that level, and reaching many people at once was huge. It's such a gift, and many people look forward to that. And so I was so sad that people weren't getting that opportunity again. But everything happens for a reason. And so that moment when they said, oh, and by the way, we're canceling the show, because that's the way show business is. And then in 5 minutes, before my next show, he said, well, this will be your last show. Go on. It was like taking a blow to the chest. I was like, what? How are these people going to receive, something positive in a daily, dark society where everything, where news is negative? It was something that everyone could relate to, where it had a piece for everyone. But then I had to just realize that spirit, runs the show. I trust it completely. Spirit being my guide, and the guides that make sure that I stay connected to the people, the spirit that connected you and I and Sharon together. So I trust that I will be exactly where I need to be, and that was ending, and something else will be unfolding, and it has. So, which is nice. So.
Very cool. Well, you know me, I'm already thinking of ways that I can uh, get more of my happy medium fix. Maybe I'll have you co-host with me as often as I can get a hold of you. I know you're very busy. I want all my listeners to know that you not only have a Happy Medium, one word, Facebook page, you also have CapeCodHappyMedium.com. The readings that you've given me one, you've given me some insight on some of the spiritual things that are going on in my home, which were spot on. The couple of readings you've given Sharon meant so much to her, and they were spot on. So, yeah, I want to make sure, okay, radio show's over. You're right. I believe you. It had its time. It had its place. You're going to go on to do so much more. And not only with your gift, but you're also a talented actress and a really talented paranormal investigator. I know the last time we spoke, you were starting to work with a team called T&K Paranormal. And you were working a very interesting case that you couldn't talk about at that time. You had to know I was going to put your feet to the fire tonight and find out if you can finally share with me that case, because I've heard through the grapevine that was a once in a paranormal investigator's lifetime type case. And can you share that case with us?
Yes, now I can. I'm so excited to share it because it's nothing worse than, having, when you work with other paranormal teams and like yourself, you want to share with people what's going on. And so when we started to have a problem, you were the first person I called. I wanted to get a demonologist on this. Who do you know? And it's funny when you have a couple of friends that are demonologists that, it's kind of funny because you just kind of reach out to these people and say, okay, this is what's going on. What do you think this is?
Yeah.
So we had a very easy case to go into. It was the Centerville Historical Museum in Centerville, Massachusetts on Cape Cod. Very sweet place. It just had old artifacts from, the Cape, and people donated things, and it had, it was like a house, set up like a house. You would walk from room to room, and it was beautiful, antique furniture and cute little things and artifacts and worth things. And so we went in to set up early, and I usually don't do the setup. I usually come in once everything's set up and once everybody has had time to get briefing, because I like to, as the medium, I like to not know anything about it. I don't get any of the prehistory and anything like that. I go in cold, so that what I get, I feel is authentic when I'm getting it. And and if there's Bernardi investigations there and any of that, I don't know any of that, so I walk in cold. But this particular time, I helped set up because we were down some people, and so I didn't do I do like a power protection before I go into an investigation, and I didn't do it then because I wasn't, in my mind, I wasn't doing the investigation. I was just in the building setting up cameras and putting out microphones and setting up our equipment, and so to me, I wasn't already working, and that was my first mistake, because the energy knows you're coming before you even get there. And I think that you and probably any of the other investigators would agree with me that somehow they know you're coming because they're afraid you're going to make them disappear or stir it up somehow. And this one particular energy that happened to be malevolent was there, and it knew I was coming, and it was ready and knew I had my guard down, and it attached itself. And being, of the white light and working in that white light energy, it definitely found me as a threat. And it was crazy. I was walking around this investigation, disappearing from camera. Like they'd be like, and as I'm listening to the tape back, listening to the audio for EVPs, still every time it was like, where's Susan? Susan's supposed to be coming and doing, coming with me to, investigate this room. Where'd she go? They're like, I don't know. I don't know where she went. I was like, not on camera. I was not on mic. I really don't know where I went. I don't remember. I had a full-on attack, and I lost place of time. I don't really remember half the stuff. I said some really horrible, mean things to my coworkers. So at one point I was doing Spirit Box, and after when I was listening back to it, this negative thing that called itself Satan was telling us in one word pieces that it wanted us gone and to leave and not to open it, whatever it was. We clearly opened something, and not to be in there, and it was very, very interesting. I was quite amazed after listening. I'm like, it gave us the heads up that it was game on. And we didn't know. We still, at this point, didn't know. We were just at a simple, cute little historical museum that had wonderful items and had no idea that something there was the culprit. And we were able to catch on camera as I'm doing the Spirit Box up in the attic in the schoolroom attic area by myself. Something had touched my hair, and it lifted my hair up, and you could see it lift up about 4 or 5 inches, and it just kind of puffed and it stayed there. It was amazing, because right before that I was like swapping away somebody or energy that was there. I was just telling them to back off and to kind of leave me alone, and then you see it taunting me, just pulled my hair up, and it kind of stayed there. It was amazing. But I believe that was the demonic energy. That
absolutely.
Yeah, and I would like to send you that clip. I'm having a hard time locating it at the moment. We know it's there, but it's one of those things that loves to disappear. It's a spirit taunting you back. So as soon as I do, I'll get you that. It was pretty cool.
What about the case I heard about with the clown penny bank, and you had to bring the Catholic Church in on that?
So after I left and I was feeling really sick, I wanted to just hurt people. I wanted to physically hurt them. I knew I was hurting them with my words. Like I wanted to hurt, and then all of a sudden it would stop and it'd be like, oh my God, I was shocked. It was coming out of my mouth. I was like horrified. So I got out of there. I worked with an energy worker the next day and a healer, and I said, you got to help me. Something attached itself to me yesterday at an investigation. She came up with, she says, I'm seeing a clown. And I was like, that's exactly what was in this museum, was this crazy little 4-inch penny bank little clown that you put the penny in his hand and it goes to his mouth. It was one of those.
Old.
And it the people at the museum, like everything is cataloged so that they know where each and every artifact came from. They have no idea really where this came from. It has no real origin. There's no real reason for it to be in this museum. It didn't fit in the room that it was in before. It was in a room full of like white linen dresses and little girls' clothes and little boys' little outfits and white dresses. It didn't fit. And all of a sudden there was this crazy, ugly looking clown in there. And it stuck out like a sore thumb. But until she'd said, oh, it is blah, 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 we kind of had a name for it. And I'm not going to say it because it gives it more power every time you say his name. That's what this particular thing was. And so we ended up contacting, after the dust settled, everybody that was in there that night, even a local TV crew that was doing kind of like a what's going on Cape Cod type of thing. They were affected. 6 people on our team were affected. Everybody had one level or another something that happened to them. and it continued to happen to them even after their homes. So it was affecting their private lives, their personal lives and their work. It was affecting their business. It was affecting their health, their physical health. It was just really amazing how intense this one particular energy was. And we didn't even know it was even there. I mean, we had no idea. There was no anything to it. So that's when we started calling people and talking to people. And we were able to get a hold of a deacon named James Anito. And he was out of Rhode Island. And he worked with the Catholic Church. And he came. It took us 2 weeks to get somebody there. And we were able to get them there to bind this clown. I made the bag, and we had to because there really is no place that you can go to a store for binding demonic energy. You know what I mean?
Right.
You can't just go buy one of these bags. So I had to make it, and I was saying prayers the whole time I was creating this bag that we were gonna stick the clown in, and then Deacon James was going to take it and do what he needed to do with it. But then we were like, what are we going to do with this? What are we going to do with this haunted clown? And we had to get permission from the museum to get rid of it. And of course they said, yes, do what we need to do. So we contacted John Zaffis. Do you know John Zaffis?
Yes.
Yeah. So we contacted John Zaffis. He's had that haunted collection TV show, The Haunted Collector. And it is now in his personal haunted museum, and he's the nephew of Lorraine Warren. So he has this clown.
Well, good. John deserves the clown. I didn't mean that. I didn't mean that the way it sounded, but he's got quite the haunted museum collection going there in his home, and that's a good place for it, for sure, because that's pretty scary stuff. Since the clown, do you mind me asking exactly how I've had to bind many objects, and I know there's probably people out there listening that suspect maybe they have one or more than one items in their house that may have an attachment to it. Before it jumps from that item to a person, or just leaves that item altogether and takes up residence in the home. Bindings, you got a small window of opportunity there. Do you mind me asking exactly what they did to bind that penny bank, that odd clown penny bank?
Right. I don't know. I was not present at that binding, but they were there for 3 hours doing all sorts of things. And
well, I'll tell you what I did to I received a voodoo doll once from New Orleans, and it had no return address on it and no letter from anybody inside as to who sent it to me. So, not knowing any better, I mounted it somewhere. I had a display on a shelf or hanging like a mobile from a fan or something. And I had the longest string of the worst luck, months and months of just the worst luck you can imagine, till finally one day I'm sitting in a chair and I look up and I see this doll, and something told me it's the doll. So I asked around, this is many, many years ago. So I asked around, and finally I got a really nice decorative style box, and I laid it in there in some really nice plushy, toiletry type gift wrapping, soft gift wrapping paper. And I put, all the usual stuff in there, like peanuts and candy and money, tobacco, some holy water, said some special prayers, wrapped the doll up, in addition to laying it in this box and sealing this box up. Unfortunately, and when I tell people this, they just shake their heads. It's still here on the property, but I binded it. The reason why I didn't take it somewhere and bury it or toss it in the lake is because there's always the chance that, it washes up on shore. Somebody opens it up and re-releases it, and then the thing's really mad, and then it usually comes back to you. or really goes after the person that set it free.
Right.
Or somebody digs it up and sets it free anyhow. If they're building where I might have buried it many years before, on the way on the outskirts of town up by Red Rock. Now there's homes there. So I think I made the good decision by not burying it somewhere or tossing it in Lake Mead. So yeah, you got to be really careful. And I just recently received a large bell, the kind that would eat that we traced the origins of it, and we found out it was made by a company. The serial number, early 1800s, and the serial numbers on it say that it was made to be put in a church steeple when it was sent out west. And I find it interesting that the person that had it was having some terrible luck with it, and so he can only think to give it to me. And I find it strange that a bell that would be designed for a church steeple would end up in my hands. But it was meant to be because we knew the case. We knew the location that the bell came from. And I think the bell was always meant for Sharon and I. Because since it came here and I did some binding prayers on it and put a lot of salt around it and on it and have left it in its place, we've had no issues whatsoever. But the person before us has had major issues. That's why he gave it to us. So yeah, you got to be very careful. Are you much more careful now with? I mean, we don't even leave our house to go head towards working a case without blessing ourselves and doing all of that sort of stuff before we even leave the home and head that way. And we're also very, very careful now about taking anything. Like even when I took that Gideon's Bible from Binion's on Halloween night, I knew it was meant for me and it was being given to me as a gift from this spirit, but I still asked for permission, and I still made sure I asked for permission from the gentleman that, set up the ghost hunt there to make sure it was all okay with all parties concerned. So sometimes things are meant to be, but you've got to be very, very careful. Are you being careful now?
Oh, it was a huge lesson for me. You've been doing this for so long that you get sloppy. You get kind of complacent, and that's exactly what happened as far as protecting myself. Now, that didn't create this issue. It just opened me up for a really long, I'd say ever since the thing. So I'd say a month now. I've been, every day it's a consistent bringing light and love into my life every time I do anything. I start my morning routine. I end the night with the, only, cleansing and clearing my energy and space and the people that I love. And I even didn't have my grandchildren come over until, just recently, because it followed everyone home. And I didn't want them and their little, precious little souls being affected by it. It just wasn't fair. And it took a toll on everyone. So, and even to the fact that if I'm not feeling 100%, I haven't gone and done any more investigations until I'm 100% that I am feeling strong and capable. I just had knee surgery, so I'm in recovering, but even with that, that weak spot is in your energy field, I feel is opening yourself up to stuff. So I need to be 100% if I'm going in there, because I see your light. And this really was the first horribly demonic energy that I've ever felt that has actually really messed with me this bad. Enough for me to say, you know what, I need to stop.
Absolutely. Well, I love you, and you're on the prayer list. And when even the last time we spoke, and you told me little bit about this, I've been praying for you ever since. So I'm glad that the prayers work, and the power of prayer is very strong. I take my hat off to TNK. They're lucky to have stumbled upon you and have you as part of their team. I went to the website, TNK Paranormal Research Society.com, wonderful website. There's some great pictures of you on there, which is cool. I take my hat off to them for being willing to use a psychic on their team, because a lot of teams, paranormal teams, don't use psychics. I love psychics. I love working with them. I think they're an essential tool. So I'm glad that you found a team that has welcomed you with open arms. What would your advice be for sometimes you talk to psychic mediums that feel, no, I do what I do. I give readings and that sort of stuff. But I don't, I have no desire to do paranormal investigations. Is that okay? Or should that come with the territory? Or should perhaps maybe psychic mediums not do investigations because there's such targets?
Well, and it's kind of, that's exactly it. And it's not for the light of heart. I mean, I studied demonic entity work for several years before I even started doing paranormal research with a group. And so that was my first love, was working with being able to recognize entities. I used it because I was, especially being a police officer, most of the people incarcerated have entity attachments. I really haven't seen one person yet that hasn't, because it just breeds it. It's in the perfect place. And I was going to start this nonprofit with somebody else that was going in and helping people to release their entities. And there just was a lot of stuff in the way that just wasn't going to be cohesive to doing that. But it has to be a calling, like, there's a special calling for working with, with benevolent energy that you could definitely possibly come across. Now, not all spirit is negative or dangerous, but you have to think that it very possibly could be.
Yeah, it's scary. It's definitely scary. I left the field once. I had an incident a few years back that I actually left the field for a year, and it took a pastor friend of mine practically begging on her hands and knees for me to help her with this case to get me back into it. And of course, the next two cases, both those cases, I had something happen to me that clearly was a sign to me from above that, this is your calling. You need to get back on the horse. Everybody falls off. We've got your back. And so the rest is history. But yeah, I am disappointed. Me, I got a little bit of insomnia, and I intend to work all night, and then I work all day, and then I work until I just pass out somewhere in a chair. But I miss tuning into you on Friday mornings. Is there you need a show? You definitely need a show. Are there any possibility of getting you back on the air again, like you were once a week with the other show?
I really love working in radio, and yeah, I would love that. There really is no money in it. Not that that's what I was doing it for, yeah. But it was time for me to move on. And I think if someone came and said, "Hey, would you like a show?" I did. I asked them. I wanted to really kind of have a show, and it just didn't fly. And that's okay. It just wasn't the right venue. But I can't give you too much information, but it looks like I possibly would be skipping over to TV. So I'm excited about that.
Very cool. Well, you did the movie. I'm still waiting to get you send me a copy of it, or if you can. I want to see you in the movie. You're a good actress, and you're very talented. So I see that. Like I said, I was disappointed, more disappointed for my viewers than anything to not have you on camera tonight. So yeah, I'm looking forward to whatever you do. I know it's going to be first rate, and all of you out there that tuned in tonight, you've got to follow her, Susan Ahearn, the Happy Medium. Get a reading from her if you feel you need some type of spiritual guidance in your life that way. I mean, some people prefer a spiritual advisor like me. And you can reach out to me too. I offer those services if it's something other than related to the paranormal. I offer spiritual advisor, intuitive coach work. But there's some things that only a gifted psychic medium as yourself can do that someone like me can't do, even though I'm very sensitive, intuitive, and have gifts of discernment that help me in what I do. I can't do what you do. So I know you can't talk about the new project that might be coming up, but I know it's going to be it's going to be cool, very, very, very cool. And if anything I can do to help, or if it's some type of show where you need to pull guests on, and you come across my name, the answer's always yes to you for anything. Okay?
Oh my God, that would be awesome. I would love that. Yes, and I think that would definitely. We need to work more together. I think so. And
Yes, I'm going
I'll
to.
keep in
I'll go.
touch.
I'll
I'll let you
work
know
on that.
when I can tell you and share what this new exciting adventure is going to be. So
Maybe I'll even have you. Yeah, I got some ideas. I'll reach out to you and let you know. But I want to cover some of the if anybody that's traveling through the Cape Cod area or lives out that way near you, you still got the same old events going on that everybody out there loves and talks about. You've got the Awaken Your Intuition classes, and that's starting on November 5th, and there's four of those, I understand. Then on November 13th, you're having another one of your table tipping monthly workshop. How's all that going?
oh, the table tipping is going wonderful. It really is such a healing thing. It's a healing event where, as a medium, I can tell you that I'm talking to your grandmother or your mother, your aunt, or whomever you'd like to reach. And I can tell you what they're saying, but this way you get to experience it yourself. And that's where the deep healing comes in. That's where the closure comes in, or that extra hug that you long for. That's how you can really experience it and feel it firsthand. And it's priceless. And I love doing it. And they're really popular. They sell out every month, and so I'm going to continue it until Spirit tells me otherwise.
Very good, very good. And how about your Awaken Your Intuition classes?
And that's something that came back by popular demand. People want to know, especially now the veil is thin lately out there, and people are getting messages, and they want to know what they can do with them and what's happening and um, how to work it, or how can I be a better listener to my guides and introducing that. And it's for all levels. So I will challenge you at your level to get you to learn and to cultivate what you need. What is it that you want to learn? And then let's go do that, because it really is practice. It's like playing the violin or the piano. You just have to practice to get good. I mean, some people are lucky and they walk in very gifted, and others we just kind of have to practice. So um, stay practicing, Shawn. That's all you can do. Um, and yeah, so this continuously through the wintertime, because the wintertime there's not much going on Cape Cod. So we'll do a class once a month, and hopefully eventually, once it gets popular, I'll do it over the internet so that you don't have to be local to take part in any of the classes that we offer.
Very cool. Well, I just happened to notice that we have come to the end of the show, sadly enough. Um, so I want to take this opportunity to make sure you know that I love you. No more near death experiences, okay? You're cut off. 6 is the limit.
Good.
So
Good.
please be careful. Watch yourself, and I will be in touch. There's some things I want to talk to you about. So thank you so much for being here tonight. It was a real pleasure, and I know you're very busy. So even an hour on a Sunday evening is a big deal for me. So God bless you. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your listeners. I love them all. Take care.
You have a great evening. I'll talk to you later. Good night.
Good night.
Brothers and sisters, I will be here next Sunday, 5 p.m. Pacific sharp, right here on the Spirit Realm Network. It's your weekly supernatural support group. I hope to see you all literally next Sunday. Until then, good night, Harold. Rest in peace. Good night, Ernie. Good night, Bill. Good night, Dan. Good night, and God bless all of you.
Hey Realmers, need a durable and convenient solution for handling your gear? Check out GoTechPacks.com, the versatile solution for organizing and storing all your important gear. GoTech Packs are synonymous with quality and durability. Their spacious design are perfect for paranormal enthusiasts and adventurous alike. Whether you're on a tactical mission or deep inside that haunted location, GoTech Packs has your back. Check out their featured collections at GoTechPacks.com. And now, for a limited time, use the Spirit Realm Network's discount code SRN10 and get 10% off any purchase over $30. That's GoTechPacks.com, discount code SRN10. GoTechPacks.com.